There are players who dominate the spotlight from the moment they touch a basketball. And then there are players like Kate Martin, the ones who rise quietly, steadily, almost invisibly, until suddenly the entire world realizes they've been the heartbeat of everything all along. Her story isn't about viral highlights or flashy numbers. It's about timing, preparation, and a kind of grit that doesn't show up on stat sheets. For years, Kate stood just outside the frame of the cameras pointed at Iowa's biggest star, but anyone who really understood the team knew there was something different about her. A presence that changed games without needing to score 40 points. What no one expected, though, was how her life would flip in a single night. She walked into the WNBA draft thinking she was just there to support her best friend, and walked out with a future that shocked even her. And the wild part, that spontaneous moment wasn't luck. It was the result of years of unseen work, leadership, and a competitive edge that people are only now starting to understand. As the spotlight finally shifts toward her, a bigger story begins to unfold, one that's far more compelling than anyone realized. Long before cameras followed Caitlin Clark everywhere she went, Kate Martin was already the one holding the entire Iowa locker room together. She wasn't the loudest voice or the star dropping logo threes, but she had something the team leaned on even more. A calm, steady intensity that could flip a chaotic moment into control with a single look. When things got tense, teammates didn't just turn to their coaches. They turned to Kate. She was the one telling players to breathe, reset, refocus. She was the one reminding everyone of the scout, checking matchups, calling out screens before they even happened. And with Caitlin, it wasn't just friendship. It was a deeper understanding. They pushed each other, argued when they needed to, held each other accountable, and became the perfect balance of fire and composure. Caitlin brought the electricity. Kate grounded it. And together, they built an energy Iowa hadn't seen in years. But the real magic wasn't the on-court chemistry. It was the behind-the-scenes mayhem fans never got to see. Inside jokes that kept the locker room alive, late-night film sessions, and moments where Kate stepped in before a teammate spiraled under pressure. She became the emotional thermostat of the entire team. When she was locked in, everyone else followed. And without anyone realizing it, Kate's leadership became the foundation of Iowa's legendary run. The kind of foundation that doesn't crumble, even under the brightest lights. The funny thing about Kate Martin is that people spent years calling her the glue of Iowa, but almost no one ever talked about what that actually meant. Glue isn't passive. It's not just being supportive or bringing energy. With Kate, it was discipline, real, brutal, day-in, day-out discipline that set the tone for everyone around her. While the cameras circled around Caitlin's highlight reels, Kate was the one in the gym early, staying late, and dragging teammates into drills they didn't even want to think about. She didn't do it for praise. She didn't do it because someone told her to. She did it because she genuinely believed that every rep mattered, every detail mattered, and every player on the floor deserved someone who held the standard high. And that competitive streak? It wasn't subtle. The moment she stepped into a drill, she acted like the scoreboard was tied with 10 seconds left. Teammates joked that she treated walkthroughs like playoff games, but the truth is, that edge is exactly what separated her. Even the scout squad, the guys who practiced against them, felt it. If you lined up across from Kate, you weren't facing a role player. You were facing someone who was ready to win that possession as if everything depended on it. People talk about raising the level of the room, but Kate actually did it. Not by speeches or theatrics, but by effort, relentless, uncomfortable effort that forced everyone else to match it or get exposed. It's the kind of work ethic that doesn't trend on social media, but it's the kind that builds careers quietly, secretly, until suddenly it can't be ignored anymore. Draft night was supposed to be simple. Kate Martin showed up to support her best friend, clap from the audience, maybe sneak a soda from the back, and enjoy the moment like any loyal teammate would. She didn't do her hair expecting cameras. She didn't prepare a speech. She didn't picture herself walking across that stage. She was there to cheer, not to participate. And then everything changed in a heartbeat. When her name came out of the commissioner's mouth, Kate didn't move at first. It was one of those moments where the world keeps going but your brain doesn't catch up. That tiny, stunned, "Wait, me" expression instantly went viral, not because it was dramatic, but because it was so real. She wasn't acting for the spotlight. She genuinely didn't think the spotlight was ever going to swing her way. But the thing is, the coaches who voted for her saw what fans were only beginning to understand. That Iowa's success didn't rest on one superstar. It came from a system, a culture, and a heartbeat. And Kate had been powering that heartbeat the entire time. The league didn't draft her for hype. They drafted her for IQ, toughness, reliability, and the kind of team-first mentality that makes championship locker rooms feel bulletproof. The walk to the stage, heels clicking, smile shaky but proud, was the kind of moment athletes dream about. Except she hadn't been dreaming about it. She had been working for it, quietly, relentlessly, until the work finally spoke louder than her expectations. Stepping into the WNBA is a shock for most rookies. The speed, the physicality, the sheer IQ on the floor, it exposes players who relied on hype rather than substance. But Kate Martin didn't just survive that shift. She blended in like she'd been there for years. From the moment she arrived at Golden State's camp, the coaches noticed it. She processed plays faster than almost everyone. She anticipated rotations, cut at the perfect second, made the extra pass before a defender even realized they'd been baited. She wasn't trying to be flashy. She was just playing the same high IQ, high-effort basketball she always had. And suddenly, it fit the pro game like a glove. Veterans respected her almost immediately. Not because she walked in with star credentials, but because she brought the habits that matter most. Staying locked in, communicating every possession, doing the gritty jobs nobody volunteers for, and making the team operate smoother just by being on the floor. Her presence was obvious even when she wasn't scoring. She kept huddles organized. She steadied teammates during rough stretches. She hustled for rebounds she had no business grabbing and sprinted the floor on every possession like she refused to waste a single second of her opportunity. Fans picked up on it fast. There's something magnetic about a player who gives everything without ever demanding attention. And Kate became that player, the one viewers pointed to and said, she's not just here to fill a roster spot, she belongs. In a league where rookies often fade into the background, Kate walked in with the confidence of someone who wasn't supposed to be here, which made her even more determined not to let the moment slip. If draft night was the shock, unrivaled was the confirmation. The moment Kate stepped onto that court, something clicked, not just for her, but for everyone watching. Suddenly, the glue player narrative didn't tell the whole story. She looked faster, stronger, more confident. The game slowed down for her, and you could see it in every possession. She attacked gaps with purpose. She knocked down shots like she'd been waiting her whole career for the green light. And the way she read defenses, it felt less like instinct and more like she'd quietly been running simulations in her head for years. Analysts who once labeled her a fringe pro started changing their tone. Those same people who thought she'd struggle to carve out a role were now wondering how high her ceiling actually was. But the growth wasn't just physical, it was emotional. For the first time, Kate wasn't a supporting piece. She wasn't the calm behind someone else's storm. She was the one creating the spark, dictating the tempo, setting the tone. It was Kate Martin stepping into the spotlight without hesitation, almost as if she'd been preparing for it long before anyone realized. That shift, from overlooked to undeniable, became the moment fans started seeing her differently. They weren't just cheering for the underdog anymore. They were cheering for the player who had quietly turned herself into a problem for anyone guarding her. Unrivaled wasn't just a tournament. It was the birth of Kate Martin 2.0, the version people underestimated until she forced them to pay attention. What happened next was something even stars can't manufacture: a real fan movement. Kate didn't come into the league with massive nil deals or viral mixtapes. She didn't have the hype machine behind her. Yet somehow, she became one of the most unexpectedly beloved players in women's basketball. And it happened almost overnight. Fans weren't just watching her. They were rooting for her like she was family. It wasn't because she was perfect. It was because she was genuine. Kate carried herself with this rare blend of confidence and humility, the kind that makes you feel like she'd give you a high five on the street and remember your name the next time she saw you. Even opposing fan bases found themselves saying, "Ugh, I want to hate her, but I can't. She's too likable." Her energy on the bench became a phenomenon of its own. The cheering, the clapping, the hyping up her teammates like every moment mattered, that wasn't for show. That was who she'd always been. Someone who brings life into every room she walks into. Someone who celebrates others just as much as she works on herself. And that's why supporters flocked to her. It didn't matter whether she was playing 5 minutes or 20. People saw her value the moment she stepped onto the court, not as a role player, but as a presence. She didn't need the ball to matter. She didn't need the spotlight to shine. She made you feel like she represented something bigger. The idea that hard work, good character, and genuine joy still means something in sports. The jerseys, the signs in the crowd, the social media edits, they weren't forced. They were earned by someone who never demanded attention, yet somehow captured it effortlessly. Kate didn't chase the fanbase. The fanbase came to her. Kate Martin's rise isn't the kind of story you map out on a whiteboard. It's the kind that sneaks up on everyone, even the person living it. She wasn't projected to be a star. She wasn't positioned as the next big thing. She didn't walk into Iowa or the WNBA with a spotlight waiting for her. But that's exactly what makes her journey hit so differently. She became the reminder that sometimes greatness doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it grows quietly in the background, building layer by layer through trust, work, humility, and a level of heart that can't be faked. Kate didn't do any of this to prove people wrong. She did it because she loves the game, loves her teammates, and loves the grind that most people never see. And now, years after being the calming presence, the glue player, the behind-the-scenes engine, she's showing the world what happens when preparation finally collides with opportunity. Her story isn't just inspiring, it's a blueprint for anyone who's ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told they didn't have the star profile. Because Kate didn't just make it. She made it her way. And watching her carve out a place in the league, watching her personality shine through, watching teammates and fans gravitate toward her, it feels like witnessing a new chapter of what women's basketball can look like. One where talent matters, but character matters just as much. If you connected with her story the way so many others have, feel free to stick around. I've got more stories just like this, the ones that don't always make the headlines, but always leave you thinking after the video ends. Thanks for watching.